Hey guys, I'm gonna do our read aloud outside again. I'm sitting right here next to my mint plant, which smells delicious. And I've got basil here too. I wonder if you guys are planting any plants this spring. I hope so. It's always fun to watch plants grow. Today, we get to see if Larry the lizard has any good clues for Summer and Teddy. We'll have to see. Chapter 11, Larry the lizard. The Mascot dressing room was an architectural afterthought. Fun Jungle's designers had originally envisioned an underground staging area connected to various points in the park via a network of tunnels, like Disney World had. Actors would have entered it near the employee parking lot and emerged at various points of the park as adorable animated characters. That way, they wouldn't have to walk all the way to their posts in the hot sun. A task that could take up to 15 minutes in a big bulky suit. However, that was all before J.J. McCracken got the estimate for what the tunnels would cost. $5 million. Huh, J.J. had said, and just paid for an extra dressing room. If J.J. had ever entered one of those dressing rooms, however, he might have decided that the tunnels weren't such a bad idea. They would have kept the frightening assortment of people who played the mascots where guests couldn't see them. I'd heard that at the theme parks in Florida and California, the people who played mascots were usually young, aspiring actors so desperate to break into show business that they considered dressing as a giant mouse might be a good career. Central Texas had a dearth of such people. Our mascots had apparently been hired for two reasons. Their body sizes roughly conformed to those of the animals they played, and they had to be inept enough at most jobs to take one that basically required them to stand still all day. It was a group of people you'd expect to see in a police lineup, rather than a family theme park. A massive man with arm tattoos that looked like the Sunday comics wore the bottom half of Eleanor Elephant while reading an old Guns and Ammo magazine. A lanky teenager who reeked of marijuana struggled to climb into her Gina Giraffe outfit. The scraggly man who played Uncle Orang had contorted wildly inside his costume so he could scratch his arm. All of them probably should have been outside, amusing small children, but an impromptu cigarette break had been called. They all inhaled deeply, savoring their smokes and keeping an eye out for the entrance in case a supervisor walked in. Charlie Connor was smoking too. He had a huge cigar in his little green hands. "I wasn't expecting a couple of kids," he grunted, looking up and down with annoyance. We looked him up and down as well. It didn't take too long because he was a midget. He was a few inches shorter than me, even though he was around 40, but his short stature wasn't what made him look strange. It was the fact, save for the head, that he was dressed up as a lizard. "Who said you know who killed Henry?" Summer asked, ignoring the crack about us being kids. Charlie fixed her with a hard stare until recognition suddenly dawned on him, and then he broke into a wide smile. "Wait a minute," he said. "You're that girl, the famous one, McCracken's daughter." Before Summer could reply, everyone else turned around towards her and gasped with excitement. Within seconds, they were crowded around her, begging for autographs. Even the tattooed giant who played Eleanor seemed giddy. "Hey," Charlie snapped, trying to shove them all back. "She's here to talk to me, not you yahoos." He obviously had been hired as Larry because of his size. Larry the lizard was the shortest of Henry's pals. He was supposed to be sort of a chameleon, but the costume looked more like a frog with a tail. In fact, a few people in PR had suggested removing the tail and simply calling him Freddy the Frog. Charlie seemed to have no great affection for his job. There were two obvious cigarette burns on the costume, and the head, which lay at his feet on the floor, was slightly crushed, as though someone had sat on it. Eventually, Summer signed everyone's autographs, answered a few questions, and then graciously asked if she might have some time alone with Charlie. The other mascots reluctantly backed off, wondering what made the lizard so special. We sat down with him, trying to stay upwind of his cheap cigar, which smelled like burned hair. "Who killed Henry?" Summer asked again. "Why are you asking questions about the hippo?" Charlie asked suspiciously. "You're what, 14? "I want to know what happened to him," Summer replied. "And who's this guy?" Charlie looked at me, but still spoke to Summer, even though I was only a few feet away. "He's my friend. You can trust him." Charlie looked us over again, and while he was certainly excited to have an audience with Summer McCracken, it was obvious he wasn't keen on sharing any information with us. First things first, he said eventually. I didn't kill the hippo. This isn't me trying to avert the blame. I didn't like him, seeing as he nearly killed me. But I wasn't in this for revenge or anything. Of course not, Summer said diplomatically. Charlie rolled up the leg of his lizard suit and pointed to a deep scar on his calf. See that? That's what the jerk did to me. I'm minding my own business, working on a routine with some of the other clowns, and the fat jerks run up and attacks me. For no reason? Was the first thing I'd said in Charlie's presence other than hello. I knew he was far more interested in talking to Summer than to me, but I hadn't been able to keep that in. Charlie turned to me annoyed. You think I was dumb enough to provoke that bag of pus? Everyone at the circus knew Henry was a bad news. Truth be told, the owners didn't help the situation. They treated him like dirt. But then, they pretty much treated everyone like dirt, man and animal alike. Point is, I gave Henry a really wide berth, seeing as he didn't really like little people. You're kidding. This time it was Summer who couldn't hold her words in. Charlie pointed to his scar again. Does this look like I'm kidding? First thing they told me when I joined the circus, steer clear of the hippo. He don't like little people. There was another little person in the clown troupe before I got there, Frankie. Henry had to go at him too. This was his first week there. Frankie was only trying to be nice, brought Henry a carrot or something like that. They tell me the hippo acted real nice at first, even wagged his tail all friendly, like a two-toned cocker spaniel, and then boom. Next thing you know, he's got Frankie's head in his mouth. Nearly put the guy in the hospital. Was he okay? I asked. Luckily, yes. Frankie came within an inch of losing an eye. The hippo ate his toupee. I had to bite my lower lip to keep from laughing. A toupee is someone's fake hair. It was wrong, but I couldn't help it. The idea of a little person sticking out of Henry's mouth was kind of funny. The fact was that we were being told the story by a man dressed like a lizard didn't exactly help it sound serious. I looked at Summer. She was biting her lip too. In fact, she was having so much trouble trying not to laugh, I had to ask the next question. So what happened when Henry attacked you? He just got loose. I don't know what the handlers were doing with him. Moving him, feeding him, whatever you do with hippos. All I know is one moment I'm minding my own business and the next 4,000 pounds of angry hippopotamus is bearing down on me. You must have been 30 guys around, but he comes right after me because I'm the little person. Sank his teeth right into my leg. Thank God Bettina was around. Bettina? I asked. The bearded lady. She took about a pound of testosterone pills a day to make her hair come in, so she was ripped. Strongest woman I've ever met. She could bend a steel bar into a pretzel without breaking a sweat. However, when Henry had me in his teeth, she punched the jerk in the nose until he dropped me. Then the other clowns beat him back while Bettina got me to the medic. How badly did Henry hurt you? Summer wanted to know. Real bad. The hippo totally messed up my leg. One of his teeth went straight through the muscle, one side to the other. I needed 87 stitches and 12 shots. The doctor said God only knew what kind of bacteria could be in a hippo's mouth. They jabbed me for tetanus, typhoid, yellow fever, you name it. I was like a pincushion, and I lost my job. Why? Summer wanted to know. The circus life ain't exactly plush. There's no medical and dental. If you can't work, you're out. And I had to be on crutches for 3 weeks. No one wants a midget clown on crutches. That's not comedy, it's tragedy. So how'd you end up here? I asked. Well, obviously the circus wanted to get rid of Henry ASAP, so they offered him up cheap, and Fun Jungle came sniffing around. I knew they were hiring. Everyone did. So I presented myself to them. I had good references and a degree from Clown College. Summer laughed. Clown College? That's funny. Charlie scowled at her. It's not a joke. It's a prestigious institution serving those who seek the way of the clown. Not that this place gives a hoot. Here, I am a licensed practitioner of Harlequin arts. They basically hired me because I'm short. I thought they were looking for real clowns, not some yuts to stand around in a lizard, dressed as a lizard all day. You didn't know you were going to be in costume, I asked? No, I didn't. But I thought they'd let me do something. Acrobats, juggling, let me entertain. But they don't. Apparently the legal department's afraid us mascots might hurt a guest if we jump around too much. So we're just supposed to stand still and wave. I might as well be in a shrubbery for all I get to do. Charlie angrily flicked the butt of his cigar towards the trash can. It bounced off the rim and landed on the floor, where it started to burn the carpet. Charlie made no attempt to pick it up. So, who killed Henry? I asked, unable to keep the question inside any longer. Charlie stared at us for a while, enjoying keeping us in suspense, and then he said, Pete Thwacker. Summer and I looked at each other. I didn't know what to think. I didn't like Pete, but it was hard to imagine him killing Henry. Summer seemed a bit more excited about the revelation, though I wasn't sure if she even knew who Pete was. How do you know? She asked. Did you see him do it? No, in fact, he didn't do the actual deed himself. He ordered someone else to do it. That's what I saw. How? I was in costume. I was working at Mumbo Hippo Overlook. It's usually reserved for Henry's, but the one who was supposed to be there that day got food poisoning at lunch and had to go to the infirmary. While they were waiting for another Henry, I got dispatched over there to fill in. It was a bad call. People don't like seeing Larry the Lizard at Hippo River. They wanted to see Henry. In fact, most guests didn't want to see Larry the Lizard at all. He's not a very interesting character, and plus, people think lizards are gross. Yet, another reason this job bites. So what happened? I prodded. Keeping Charlie on the topic was like herding monkeys. I'm standing there being ignored, and then to top it off, Henry had one of his incidents. He fires a load of crap at tourists, a huge load. He must have been saving that up for a week. He doesn't hit anyone, but he soils the glass at the Overlook, something awful, and it smells so bad people are getting sick. So the park shuts down the Overlook till the cleaning crew can get there. Only the rules state I'm not supposed to leave my post. Now it's like 900 degrees outside, and it smells like hippo poop, and I've got nothing to do, so I decide to heck with that and go find a shady spot to sit. I don't want the supervisor seeing me taking an unauthorized break though, so I find a bench tucked back in the trees around Hippo River where there's not a lot of traffic. I'm there maybe a minute when I see Thwacker come along with some security guard. Which one? Summer asked. I don't know, some woman. A big woman, built like a truck. Large Marge, I said. Charlie looked at me intrigued. You know her? Yeah, I know her. She's the one who really killed the hippo. I heard Pete tell her to. My eyes widened in excitement. I could easily imagine Large Marge doing something as cruel as killing Henry. Right in front of you? Summer asked. You bet. I think sometimes people forget there's a human in costume, but maybe they didn't see me. The costume is green, and it blends in with the landscape. They were off tucked into the trees themselves. What did Pete say? I asked. He was royally upset about Henry's projectile crapping again, going on and on about what a headache it was. The guests were all disgusted, as usual, and apparently this time some old lady claimed that she'd been hit. She said it had ruined her dress and she was going to sue Fun Jungle for being unsanitary. Total junk, but still, it was a major headache for Thwacker. He told Marge he'd had it. He couldn't wait for Martin to find another hippo to replace Henry with. He couldn't deal with Henry one more day. The hippo was a huge disaster waiting to happen, and Thwacker wanted him dead. So Marge gets all conspiratory and says, Are you asking me to kill Henry? Thwacker said, Could you do it? And Marge says, Not for what I'm getting paid right now. So they negotiate. Marge doesn't seem too bothered by the idea of thwacking the hippo. In fact, she seems excited about it, like she's James Bond and she's been given orders to assassinate somebody. Thwacker's much more nervous, like he knows this is a bad idea, but at the same time, he can't take it anymore. The hippo is driving him nuts. They talked money for a bit, and then they reached an agreement. You heard Marge say she'd do it? I asked. Charlie hesitated. Not exactly. The cleaning crew came along, so Thwacker and Marge split, but it was pretty much a done deal. He wanted her to do it, and she wanted to do it. A week later, the hippo turns up dead. What more do you need? I looked at Summer. She seemed happy with what she had heard. I wasn't quite satisfied, though. There were still a few things bothering me about the whole situation, but before I could ask anything else, the tattooed man shouted, "Supervisor's coming!" Instantly, the room became chaos. The lazy actors were suddenly full of energy, stubbing out their cigarettes and squirming into their suits as fast as they could. Charlie snatched his lizard head off the floor and slammed it onto his shoulders. "Gotta go," he said, then grabbed my arm and pulled me close. "In case anyone asks, you didn't hear anything from me. If I get in any trouble because of this, I'll come find you." Even though it was coming from a giant lizard, the tone of his voice scared me. Charlie turned to go, but in his haste, he slammed into the open locker and dented his nose. "Shoot," he muttered. "I've got to get a real job." And then he slipped into the tunnel and vanished from sight. That's the end of Larry the Lizard's chapter. We'll have to see what happens. I'm not sure if I totally believe him, and it seems like maybe Teddy doesn't either. We'll have to wait and see. Thanks for listening.